The North Node is in the 12th degree of Taurus for a couple of weeks. And so that means the South Node is in the 12th degree of Scorpio. Let's start there. Scorpio 12, an embassy ball. Diplomatic struggling. In contrast to our willingness for self-sacrifice, we also have an inclination to form hierarchy. By this is created a firm social structure that supports privilege, leadership, and obedience. Notwithstanding the inherent high risk of corruption, it provides a platform for diplomacy, where the ruling elite are able to struggle for supremacy amongst themselves and against foreign powers without resorting to physical violence. It is necessary because until the chips are down, allegiances are not tested and proved, and this is a requirement to experience group consciousness. Keeping open difficult relationships with skills in diplomacy. Well, we all do this. This isn't just about going to an embassy ball. This is about diplomacy. And the South Node suggests that within us we have a natural inclination to know how to interact with other people whom we don't particularly know or may not even like. But nevertheless, we can keep our interaction with those people within the realms of diplomacy. And if we haven't that skill, then we cannot connect with the world at large. So we do have those skills. We learn them. And some people learn them very well. Now, the advantage in having some communication channel open with those people that you really don't like, you really don't want in your life, the advantage is that even though you may not like the experience of communicating with them, it's preferable to having a violent exchange using physical force. People say war is wrong and violence is a bad thing and so on. And absolutely, I feel that way myself. However, it's not true. War isn't wrong. War is simply a reflection of humanity's inner condition. Violence isn't wrong. It's simply a reflection of our own inner violence. The purpose of the earth plane is not to be good and enjoyable and safe. That's not its function. Its functionality is to be a perfect mirror for what's going on for us. In our case, our physical reality is simply an authentic representation of what's going on inside us. If we have violence inside us, then we must externalize it in order to be able to see that it exists and do something about it. If we don't have the mirror, we don't know what's going on, and we will pretend and tell ourselves lies. And authenticity is more important than freedom from violence on a spiritual level. If you see that there is violence even around you, you have violence in your life, instead of blaming the aggressor, which is what most people do, most of my clients blame their aggressive husbands for being aggressive. It's a very delicate job for me to win them over and persuade them that that's not the most productive way of looking at this situation, which is that everything that happens to us is ours. It's what we have within ourselves reflected out there. So it's difficult to say this, but if you are violated, it's because of your own inner propensity to be violated. Deal with that and you won't have the problem anymore. If you're violent, it's because there's a part of you which has not yet reconciled itself to something, very certainly in your childhood, probably in the first few weeks of it. We don't know about this stuff. It's pre-verbal, therefore it's not thought through, it's just a feeling. But if you've got those kind of feelings, then actually, more than anything else, you want to see them out in the world. You want to see that you're violent. You want to see that you're a martyr to somebody else's violence. You want to see that. Or you just won't know who you are, and you'll continually bump into brick walls. So, controversially, let there be war. Let the people who go to war be warring types. Let them have the opportunity to do that thing. And it's shocking that some of the men who go to war, and it mostly is men, of course, they want it. They want the opportunity to test their strength against an equal, competent enemy. They want to measure themselves. And it is surprising to many of us, but men have that much more than women, and they don't all put into sport or martial arts training, So war exists to show us that war should exist, if we have war within us. Now, diplomacy is what we do when we recognize that we're violent, when we recognize that we're warring people, that I'm a warring person. When I recognize that, I train myself in diplomacy so that I can express my distaste and disapproval of somebody without having to do that with a clenched fist or a gun. Without diplomacy, it can't happen. All wars end with diplomacy. And they begin because diplomacy has broken down. So, if you apply that to the personal situation, you're probably having a row with your lover now and again, or your kids, or your boss, or you'd like to. This is where diplomacy really matters. The most important aspect of this, most assuredly, is with your children. If you simply bully your children because you're the one with the food and the money and so on, they will always grow up resentful about that and get you back at some point. Don't do it anyway. I mean, it's a bad thing to do. So use diplomacy with your kids. Use diplomacy with your angry lover. And many of us know this. It's just easy to forget sometimes. Now, the North Node, he said that the North and the South Node are in relation to each other, that they represent very similar principles. And we can't see this very clearly in Sabian Symbols unless we look. And Mark Edmund Jones has done a lot to look at the opposite degrees. So 12 Scorpio is opposite 12 Taurus, and he's suggesting there's a connection between them. It's not at all obvious, but let's see if we can find it. Window shoppers, 12 Taurus. The fruits of desire. In contrast to the inwardness of self-nurture, we also find cause to see what can be found useful of society's fruits, and we look outwards and enjoy expressing ourselves by shopping around for things to give substance to our desire to be known. Such interactions are forces that impress upon us and shape the developing self. This is the externalization of the desire principle, expressed in tangible form. Now there it is, there's the connection. Whereas before we had certain principles going on within us, the opposite of merging, the wanting separation, the animosity, the feelings of not wanting that person anywhere near you, the opposite of desire. Here we have desire. I really want that. In this case, it's talking about a thing. In the first case, more likely to be a person, an enemy. But it's the same principle of what you desire and what you don't desire. And we don't really understand what we desire until we see it. We can't really imagine something very well until we see it clearly. And for example, in relationship, if you meet somebody and you like them and you think, oh, I like them because they listen to me, because they're caring, because they're not dogmatic or whatever, you work out what's important to you in relationship. And you do that by meeting somebody that you like. It's the same with things, and it's actually the same with everything. When we see it, we know how to shape our desire for it. So in a shop window, here we are, window shopping. We look in the shop window, I want one of those. I want something that looks exactly like that. Now you desire it. Well, desire is good, contrasting with some other spiritual teachings. It is not desire that's the problem. In Buddhism, for example, they say desire is the root of unhappiness. That's not really what it means. It's a bad translation. Craving is the root of unhappiness. Desire is perfectly fine. Needing is a problem. Wanting is fine. It's how we live. So our desire nature is, in a sense, a roadmap towards self-fulfillment. We have so much more to be, to do, to express of ourselves than we are doing at the moment. Across the board, all of us have this to deal with. And we don't know how to move towards the fulfillment of our potential without something like desire to motivate us. So what else could there be? Envy. It's not so good, is it? Ambition. Seems attached. Desire is wow, that would be nice. It feels good to have desire, but if you desire something clearly when you see it, and then just let go of any attachment you have to fulfilling that desire, then you have a wholesome approach to life. In other words, allow yourself desire just for the moment and turn away from it, not attached to it. Then you're fine with desire. And in this case, the window shoppers are becoming clearer and clearer about what it is they desire. Therefore, what will motivate them to move towards a greater self-expression. Now, Mark Edmund Jones speaks on this topic very well, I think, in this particular case. It's very good. Window shoppers. This is a symbol of human imagination as the real corrective for man's experience, enabling each individual to know in advance whether the choices he will make are in line with his desires. Implicit in the passive symbolism is the continual demand that action follow each tentative examination of life's possibilities, and that some latent phase of self-awareness be quickened in consciousness as a result. The key word is visualization. When positive, the degree is high ability in presenting the immediate potentialities of human achievement and the consequent self-realizations. And when negative, self-depreciation and a dismal dismissal of all really desirable things as beyond actual acquisition. So what he's saying is that we find out who we are to a significant extent by noticing what we desire. And at the end there, he points out that there's a group of people that use their desire to get what they want in life and so shape themselves into a better version, better by their own standards, more fulfilled. And there are other people that shun desire, and he's seeing this as a negative. So those people that live in an austere way, thinking, oh, I would love to have that, but. And look at those two words, would and but. If you notice somebody using words like would and could and should and but, just realize that they're not on an optimal life strategy. That doesn't work. Would, could, should, it doesn't work. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? That doesn't work. It doesn't take you anywhere. It takes you into a sense of disappointment. You don't want to go there. But for no, and. Change the word but to and every time you speak if you can. I went through that training once and it changed my life completely. Because it changes the way you think. You can have what you want and you can find the resources to get it. And other people will allow you to have it, and it won't disappoint your partner, and. Change but to and. Change would to will, and lots more will happen. And what we're saying here with the window shoppers is look around you, see what you like. You know, you might see somebody that you think, yeah, that's exactly the kind of person I want to be with. Make it known. What have you got to lose? A little temporary feeling of, oh, never mind. I did what I could. You know, it's not huge. Make it known. You know, if you want something like a new car or a better house or whatever, make it known to yourself. Write it down every day. Write it down. Describe it in detail. Make it something physical in your life. Know that you've got that in your focus. That is what you desire. Be honest with yourself about that, and it sets up a charismatic attraction, a magnetic pulling into. So you're much more likely to manifest it. And if you don't do that, I don't know how things are going to come to you. What force of attraction is there to draw things into your life? Unless it is the force of desire. I think that's the mystery here. So the North Node passing through that suggests that it's a part of our spiritual path to desire things and to go for things that we haven't had the self-love or the confidence or the clarity or the imagination to go for before. For 2 weeks, a window of opportunity arises where you might want to just walk your imagination through a different window and see a life, including what it is you desire, including that, not putting up with not having it, including that. That's what we're going through, I think, with the North Node in the 12th degree of Taurus.